This program is brought to you by Newsworks in cooperation with Eau Claire County. This program is simulcast on WRFP-LP 101.9 FM.
We have we have a mic in the middle here. So want to introduce the committee. We are the Finance and Budget Committee for the Eau Claire County Board. There are 5 of us normally speaking, and tonight we have 4 members, plus we have the County Administrator, Catherine Schaaf. So she's down there taking notes as well as keeping us in line. We'll start down here and you can introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Robin Leary. I'm the representative for District 23, which encompasses the South Street area and a sliver of the town of Seymour, and also over by Eddy Lane to the east. So it's a pleasure to be here.
I'm Nick Smyer. I'm the representative for District 15. That's the area around Water Street, the university, and up to almost to Lake Street.
I'm Jim Dunning. I'm chair of this committee, and my district is 18, which encompasses all the upper campus dormitories plus 9 homes. So it's mainly students in my district. So glad to be here.
I'm Mike Conlon. I'm District 10, which is the western 2/3 of Washington Township.
Catherine, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Catherine Schaaf. I'm the county administrator. Thank you for hosting us this evening.
The purpose of tonight's meeting is to have a public hearing to discuss the upcoming budget that the county is putting together, our committee is putting together. And in the process of doing that, we are trying to get input. We also want to remind you that the website, the county website, has a survey that you can take. You can go to the county website, and if you go down a little ways on the front page, it'll talk about the budget for the upcoming year and give you a place to go to click on to get to the survey. I know we've sent that out to a number of places so that people can do it, and we appreciate the surveys because we do look at those and see what happens on this. And tonight we're doing the public hearing, trying to get as many people as possible to speak about the issues that they feel are important for Eau Claire County to look at in the upcoming 2018 budget. So with that, we will get started. The first person that happened to have is Marlo Orth. Marlo, if you could come up, and we'll use the mic here because she's recording this. And he represents Lake Eau Claire. Thank you.
Good evening, and I want to thank all of you for your service. And the good part is we're all working together. You know, that's why I'm here, to say thank you. We've done some great things at Lake Eau Claire. There's a lot more to do. On the sheet there, I've identified, how many cubic yards we've taken out. Now that's just the river. That does not include the creeks. Anything we can do with volunteers, we do with volunteers. On the reason the creeks are not on there is because that's done. We take and hire an excavator, and the cooperation we get from the Bridge Creek and Ludington and the city of Augusta. They furnish a truck and a man. It's all working together, and that's the good thing that we got going on. The aeration, we get better water. The fish cribs. Just yesterday I was talking with Greg Leonard, and he over by Harstead, and he was telling about 3 muskies had hit. He didn't land any of them, but he did land a northern and released it. But the fishing is improved, the water quality is improved, and my mission is we've got to save this lake for future generations, and that's what we're all about. And we need you guys. We need this partnership. We need the partnership, the communication and the relationship we have with the county, your agencies, the Parks and Forest, land conservation, with the DNR, and the people around the lake. Anything we can do as volunteers, we do. And I'm sure Fred's going to talk about, I'm not sure because I don't know what Fred's going to say, but he does a lot with a lot of the volunteers. And I can't say enough good things about all the people around the lake. And thank you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to
Yeah, I
answer.
noticed on your concerns here was requesting a $100,000 grant based on 50% match. Is it 50% from us, 50% from you, or 100 and 100?
100 and 100. That's always difficult, how to put that. Any other
Just wanted to
questions?
be sure.
Oh, well,
Any other
yes.
questions for Marlo?
No.
If not, well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Whoops, watch out.
Sorry about that.
Fred Poss. Thanks,
Good
Fred.
evening. Thank you, Chairman Dunning, Administrator Shaw, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fred Poss. I live on Lake Eau Claire, and I'm representing the community of the folks who live on Lake Eau Claire, as well as being a very active member of the Lake Association, which is a private organization that works to supplement and support the public governmental lake district. I'm speaking in support of the $100,000 match, which we've been able to have for the last several years in partnership with the county, and I have 5 reasons. Reason number 1, because I honestly believe people need water. They need to experience lakes and rivers and swim and fish and boat and be in the outdoors. They need that every bit as much as they need food and shelter. Secondly, because as a community of citizens, we have formed our private nonprofit association as well as a public governmental lake district to create funds, create citizen support and volunteers to make this happen, to protect and improve the lake. Third, because we are building community involvement at a very local as well as a township and a county level. Our lake association, for example, sponsors a triathlon, which we just had a big chicken feed and a race in June, a triathlon followed by a golf tournament this Saturday out at Osseo Golf Course. I'll sell you tickets. An ice fishery in the winter, and raffles and silent auctions throughout the year. And our funds go to supplement whatever the Lake District needs but cannot budget for. Fourth, as has been mentioned, one of the chief activities we do to protect and improve the lake is to install fish cribs. And that's something I've been doing since I started 6 years ago. I've organized and direct that activity. We now have 283 fish cribs in the lake, 88 tree falls. That's a total of 371 fish structures in the lake. Our goal from 6 years back was to have 500 in 10 years from now. So we're well within that goal, that target. And I brought some pictures to show you, but as statistical evidence, not anecdotal evidence. There are, according to the DNR, more walleyes per acre in Lake Eau Claire than in any other lake in Wisconsin. And people used to call Lake Eau Claire 6 years ago the Dead Sea. So finally, I'd like to submit 4 pictures to you. The first one is one of the community activity building fish cribs. We just did that in June. 16 more went into the lake. And then 3 other pictures of fish recently taken from the lake that went right back in. Thank you. Take any questions that you might have.
Questions for Fred?
Yes, sir.
Here in your statement, you refer to 319 federal grant money, right?
That is maybe
What's it,
Marlo's.
Marlo's? That's Marlo's.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to ask you, what's the relationship between that and the 100,000 grant? What? Is there some federal money that goes into that?
Would you like
I'm
to-
asking the wrong person. Sorry.
That's fine.
Don't go away.
I could answer it, but
Don't
he
go
should.
away.
And Fred has been very involved. 2 years ago, it was actually Kelly Jacobs that was very instrumental. She got a DNR grant to take and start an Eau Claire River watershed coalition. And then Chris Straight actually was the coordinator of this group, and we wrote this grant, the application to make us eligible for 319 funds. These are federal funds. And what this makes us is eligible because the plan that they submitted was accepted by the DNR and the EPA. So that makes us eligible to apply for federal funds. That's as far as it is. This just happened here. We just got this back this month.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What would the purpose of the 100,000 be?
The
grant?
purpose is to keep, primarily, it's for sediment, take and operate. We have aerators in the lake. There are 15 discs, and people that are not new to the lake, they come and say, what are all those springs? Well, these are the aerators. And that's to keep the water oxygenated down in the lake, which keeps the phosphorus tied up instead of being released. If the phosphorus released, that's when you get your algae blooms.
Right.
And so it's for that.
Keeps
my
the
train of
fish
thought.
alive.
Pardon?
It keeps the fish alive.
Well, yeah, it keeps fish alive. Before we had the aerators, it'd come in the summer, there'd be no fish in the deep water. They'd all be up by Skid Row, going up in the Rookery, places like that. Now that we have the aerators in there, there's fish down there. But the other things, there's other things too. It's not coming to me. But we use it, it's all for the lake. But the 100,000, to answer your question, the 100,000, practically all of that will be used as a matching grant that we take and 214 property owners around the lake put up, plus supplemented by the Lake Association as a match to take out sediment. Because sediment is the big thing. But with the River Coalition, this is to go into the watershed. This is, we're not going to see this, next year. This is down the road. Because we need to work with farmers up in Stanley and in the watershed. And to stop this, instead of getting water to just a sheet runoff, to get it to infiltrate. It's a matter of educating farmers that they can make more money by doing no-till, planting cover crops, planting radishes and beets, and not harvesting them. Let them decay. This forms a cavity in the soil. So instead of the water sheet running off, it'll infiltrate into the water table.
One last question.
That's fine. And I probably won't know the answer, but
This is probably for you.
Yes, sir.
When you have 500 crips,
Yes.
trying to reach that, how much of the area of the lake does that represent?
The entire.
So the fish
What
crips.
we came up, we did pull that number out of a hat. We have a professor of oceanology, Dr. Rod Sika, and himself and myself and a few volunteers, we did a study of how much woody, coarse habitat, fish cribs should go into Lake Eau Claire to have a healthy, supportable fish population. The number 500 was derived scientifically.
Or that will cover the whole area of the lake?
Well, not in, we
I'm trying to visualize.
can't go to private lots unless we have owner's permission. And I have developed a legal form that the owner approves us putting in 1 or 2 fish cribs on those lots. So most, but not every property owner has allowed us to do that. And the county, of course, owns half of the lake, and we have permission there. So that's where we're installing those cribs.
Thank you.
And we put in we'll be putting in about 20 a year for forever to kind of match the decay and the loss of fish cribs over time. So it will always be an ongoing project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Marl? Okay, thank you.
Again, thank you guys.
Barb Pritzel.
I'm not sure if I'm tall enough, but I'll try. Anyway, yeah. Okay, there we go. First and foremost, thank you, as those guys have said, you guys doing this job, I can't even imagine, you know, with numbers and woof. Yeah, I just, yeah. But in your packet that I gave you with my newsletter, there's, the front letter gives you a little bit of background on why we're asking for our funding to remain the same. I'd love to say, you know, double it, but, you know, that's not going to happen. So, but there's so many new things coming up that I didn't even know how to type it in there. I just recently found out that we will most likely be getting a van for the senior center, and that's after hosting, you know, since I started 8-9 years ago, the transportation hearings. Every time we had one at the center, you know, that was our thing, is, you know, there is no public transportation in the rural areas. And so, from what I understand, and please don't quote me, but from what I understand is that the DOT has changed some rules on how some, not grant money, I want to, I think it's not grant money, it's,
Transportation funds.
yeah, transportation funds are allowed to be spent, and so the first thing the ADRC thought is, let's get them a van, you know. Well, I am delighted and scared to death, because it is, you know, it's a wonderful thing, you know, a wonderful asset to bring to the center, but it's going to be up to us to figure out exactly how to schedule, you know, that's all they can do is just buy us the van. So the rest is in our lap. I have to find the drivers, I have to, you know, insure, I have to, you know, so at this point, I don't even have a clue what it could be ending up costing us. No matter what it costs us, we're gonna do it though. We're gonna find a way, and so if any of your funding goes away from us, it's gonna make it way harder. Another thing that you're all probably very aware of is the change in the nutrition program. I won't go into detail on that because I'm sure are you pretty much up on what's happening there. I've been working really closely with Becky Hinsman and Jennifer, used to be Owen. What is her last name? Pardon?
Spakeen.
Okay, there you go, what she said. Those two ladies have really gone above and beyond. They have worked so hard. You know, when that ordinance passed for the living wage increase and all of that, Becky, bless her heart, you know, made sure that we had our contract with, you know, where we had been, you know, at the nursing home in Augusta, so that it would give us a year to work on it and to work things out. And I just have to say they've pulled one out of their hat, if you ask me. I think it's it's going to be hard. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be hard. And if the van that they get for us can be of any help, you know, so be it. That will be a wonderful thing. My goal is to get people from Fairchild, you collect them, bring them to the center so they can have a meal like they used to do at the Empty Pockets, was it? Yeah. And, you know, and collect people from other places, bring them in for, not only for the meals that we'll be having, but for, like for instance, today we had a speaker in talking about getting more vegetables and you know, things into your diet. So, you know, getting that educational factor in there and helping them to learn things is going to be really important. And like I said, I don't know what it's going to cost. So, on my sheet there, I'm also trying very hard to get my volunteers to accurately put down the volunteer hours that they put in. And I'm going to glare at them for a second. Because what you're seeing there is probably half of what they actually do. They're all like, oh, I don't want any, you know, kudos for this. Well, it's not for that. I want to know how much we're contributing, because that's, you know, that's an important factor. The volunteers at the center are amazing, and they're willing to step up and do a lot of things. My head's just swimming with all these new changes coming up. So if there's anything I've missed, or do you have any questions for me or suggestions? Yes, sir.
I always have a question.
You always do. That's good. That's good.
In regard to the van, would you be permitted to charge a small transportation fee to the users?
Yes.
So there's a user contribution to it.
Yes.
Not that it would cover everything, but.
No. And what I'm in the process of doing is, I'm on the board of directors for the Wisconsin Association of Senior Centers, and WASC is what we'll call it from now on. And I put out a request to all of the members. I want to say there's 100 members, maybe not. Anyway, asking for others who have a similar situation, and I'm gathering their info, and I'm actually gathering some of their paperwork that they do, you know, the forms that they use and things like that. And I've seen that most places charge something. Anywhere from $1 per direction, you know, up to $5 per direction, depending on how far away and those kind of things. But yeah, so I am expecting to have to do that. You know, to have to make, you know, do a slight charge if nothing else. But like I said, it's so new, and I feel kind of like that deer in the headlights thing. So. Yes, sir?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember last year.
Okay.
It came before us. And I remember a discussion about Fairchild and struggling to provide services out to Fairchild.
Yes.
Did you update us on that?
Unfortunately, there's not much to update you on. It's
Hard.
It's hard. You know, there's... Yeah, did you grow up in a small town, perchance?
No.
Okay.
Big
Then
city
you don't
boy.
know. You don't know.
I lived in a farm for a while.
Even getting Fall Creek people to come to us is a challenge. And it all stems to those football teams on the high school. And I'm not hardly kidding you, right? You know, there's competition, whatever, but I'm trying to break that barrier. And I believe for them, one of the things that they don't want to do is drive. So if I have the van and can, you know, maybe I'll call it Fairchild Day, I don't know, and drag them over, who knows. Although, now that I think of it, I do notice that when we have things like the ADRC comes in with the farmers market vouchers, we do get people from Fairchild, from all over the county that come in to sign up and to collect those kind of things, and other things that the Eau Claire County does. They'll come in for that, but not for my programming. Down on it. I'm trying. You know what? Every time one of them comes in, I introduce myself. I give them a newsletter. I invite them back. I try, but. And how can anybody not like me, right? So, all right. Yes, sir. Do you have a question?
Yeah, you mentioned something about a food program in Fairchild that's no longer with us.
Correct.
Is that the living wage thing?
No, that happened.
That was something else. That was
that happened a while back. That the food program there crashed. That's a good one. I heard crash back here.
That was about 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I before Empty Pockets closed, I went down there and let them, have at me, and I sympathized, and I understood their frustrations, and again, I invited them and said, our doors are wide open, and no takers hardly. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Kelly Christensen.
Kelly, hold on just a second. Got it. Kelly checked all of them before.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, so, all right, how's that?
We do have everybody otherwise, so.
All right, well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be in Fall Creek tonight. I'm not going to be in Eau Claire the night that you have your public hearing there, so I took a little drive tonight. My name is Kelly Christensen. I'm the Executive Director of Family Promise of the Chippewa Valley. We changed our name last year from the Eau Claire Interfaith Hospitality Network. Nothing changed in terms of services. We just changed our name to better align with our national organization that we've always been part of. They changed their name many, many years ago, and we chose not to at that time, but now we feel the time is right. So services are all still the same. Nothing changed. We're still doing what we think is the good work that we need to do for families with children that are homeless. I don't have a whole lot prepared. I just kind of wanted to get in front of you guys again and just remind you of what's going on. I'm a little bit tired tonight because last night a bunch of us, about 25 volunteers at least in Eau Claire County, were out literally canvassing the county and trying to locate people that are homeless and trying to provide services for them if they desired them, and trying to actually try to quantify the count. We know how many people are in the shelters every night, so we can quantify that, but we don't know how many are on the street. And I can tell you that the last I heard today was that we have found over 20 people in our county that were literally on the streets last night, that were homeless and had no place to go. For whatever reason, that's not the purpose of what we do. So I think I got home at like 2 in the morning, and then was back at work this morning, so I'm a little tired. So that's kind of that aside. But what's going on at Family Promise of the Chippewa Valley and Beacon House is still Beacon House. That hasn't changed. We continue to be full, and that means we have 6 families staying in our shelter. We get funding from the federal government to help provide some rental assistance and case management to get people out of the shelter and into permanent housing. And I'm very proud to say that our organization has a 94% success rate of getting people from homelessness to permanent housing, and our average length of stay is 45 days. So in 45 days, we're taking people that are homeless and getting them permanently housed. That's pretty good, I think. That's the good news. The bad news is what happens in Madison and what happens in Washington, D.C. affects us here locally. You all know that. And what the messages that we're getting from Madison and Washington DC is that local communities need to be taking care of their people. Now, you guys have already been doing that. We appreciate the support that we've gotten, the financial support that we get from you and have gotten for a number of years. And we just hope that that continues. Why is it so important? It's a very small amount. It's about 5% of our total budget of what we get from the county. That's not a huge amount. However, we have to provide match for our government contracts, and we're able to use those dollars to make that happen. So even though it doesn't appear like it's a lot in our budget, it really has a huge impact. If we don't have that match, then we can't get those other government contracts to be able to
How
do
much
what
is
we
that match, that total that you have to make?
We have a state grant that's about $40,000 dollar for dollar that we have to do. And then we have a federal grant that is about almost $100,000, $90,000. That's a 25% match.
Can you use any in-kind for that?
For the state one, we can. Yes.
So volunteer time?
Yep, and that's what we do, actually. Because that was my next thing about talking about how we're able to leverage dollars. When I talk about our budget, our cash budget is a little less than $400,000. But when you add in our in-kind, we get about 8,000 volunteer hours a year from our volunteers. And then all of our meals, for the most part, are provided by volunteers. So in 2015, I'm very proud to say that our volunteers provided all the food. We spent $0 on food to feed 6 families 3 meals a day for an entire year. Last year, they weren't so good. I think we spent $21.10. So they got to work on that a little bit.
That broke the budget, eh?
Yeah, right. So when we look at what our volunteers are doing for us, I mean, if you were to add up, try to quantify that number, snacks, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I would say that's probably at least another, $40,000, $50,000, that our volunteers are bringing in for us. So we run a pretty lean machine, cash-wise, but with our volunteers, that certainly helps us. Of our entire budget, about $70,000 to $80,000 of that is direct assistance that goes to our families. So it's just pass-through money, helps them get into housing, helps them subsidize their rent for a period of time, kind of thing. So we even have to take that out of our budget as well, because that's not helping us do what we do. We also have a transitional housing unit. It's a duplex over on the south side of town. Families can stay there a little bit longer if they need to. We've been running that program for 7 years, and sadly, we just had our first person abandon it before they got into permanent housing. So we were operating 100% of our folks that left there moved into permanent housing until just this year. And we probably have about 4 or 5 families a year exit that program. So we were a little bit sad when that happened, but I had to remind everybody, 7 years, folks. That's pretty good. Just a couple other messages that I want to, talk about is, obviously I'm pretty passionate about what I do and the people that I work with and vulnerable people in general, not just homelessness, but our aging or disabled, those with mental health issues that don't have a strong voice. And that's why I'm here tonight, is because I kind of do. A little bit of a big mouth sometimes. So I want to advocate for them, not just the homeless folks as well, and just remind you as we go through this process that those folks exist, and even though they may not be in front of you. And we need to not forget them, and we need to work together to make sure that we have safety nets for them. The last thing I guess I want to talk about is that I firmly believe in what I do every day is that housing is a right, not a reward. That everybody deserves a home, particularly the children that we work with. They didn't make any poor choices, but even the adults that made poor choices, I guess my response to that is, I'm certainly not perfect either. My poor choices just didn't have some of the consequences that other folks had. And so we go to work every day to help our folks, and particularly the kids, have that right of housing. Because without that, none of the other services that are offered through the county are oftentimes, our families are not necessarily able to access because they can't be found, they don't have a phone, or whatever, or they had an appointment and they are now worried about where are they going to get their next meal or where are they going to sleep tonight. And so this appointment doesn't become important. And when we can get our families into our shelter and get them stabilized in housing, we also work with the Department of Human Services, social workers, and the public health department, and we help coordinate and make sure that those services are getting back into those families. That if they're homeless and bouncing around, those things are not happening. So those are things that people don't see oftentimes, but they're happening and they're real, and life is hard sometimes for our folks, but we're trying to make it easier. And again, with your support, we're able to, to continue to do the good work. So that's all I got. Any questions?
Questions?
Yes.
Two.
Yep.
Going back to the beginning of your talk, that what you did last night,
Yep.
is that the National Day of Counting?
HUD requires that every state does it one night a year, and then the state of Wisconsin requires another night. So we do, so yes. So last night, the state of Wisconsin does it the last Wednesday in January and the last Wednesday in July.
Yeah, there's a comment. I think one of the big problems in regard to housing, at least in the city of Eau Claire, is affordable housing.
Absolutely.
It's just very, very difficult for the family in the lower socioeconomic stratus to find affordable, safe, healthy housing.
It's hard to even find not safe housing now.
I think there's plenty of not safe housing.
Well, there's not plenty though. I mean, that's part of what's going on. Our vacancy rate in Eau Claire is so low that if a landlord has a unit available, if you have a questionable background, questionable rental history, questionable work history, you are kind of pushed right out of the market. And with all the development that's happening in Eau Claire, I love it. I love going downtown. I love spending time in Phoenix Park. And then I go to work on Monday and go, wow, this is kind of the collateral damage, if you will. Housing in the Hobart Street area, those rental prices are going up. Great for property owners, great for landlords, but for those that are still earning minimum wage, they can't even afford those now anymore. So it's becoming, it is becoming quite difficult, to make that happen.
Question, Mike? Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you very much.
Carl Anton. Hi, Carl.
You know me, but for the benefit of folks in the back, I represent District 5, which is part of the 3 townships around me, Bridge Creek, the Otter Creek, and Clear Creek, and all of Augusta. And the reason I'm here is that I want to first say thanks very much to this group for the support of the Senior Center over the years. It's been a very valuable part of our community, and in my view, it's done a really good job. Sandra McKinney and Dave Mortimer, who you know, were invited by me to come out and look at it and then give a report to Jennifer, which they did. They said it's a wonderful place, highly impressed. I didn't see their report, but certainly no small amount of thanks goes to our director for that. So the investment that we have made as a county board has not gone without some return. Augusta is not a wealthy community. We get along fine, but we don't have a lot of social opportunities, and this is, for some, the only social opportunity they have. And for some, it is the only really good meal that they have. So we serve a need because well, there just aren't the same opportunities here that we have in Eau Claire. We can't call a taxi or get on the bus. We can't go to the restaurant around the corner. We can't call up and say, bring me a pizza, whatever. No, none of those things that we take for granted in some communities are available to us here. We do reach out. I see one of the fellows I'm sitting next to is from this vicinity. In fact, his house is about 3 blocks down. He comes every day, and others do too, but some of them need transportation. So what I'm saying is that please consider the importance of this community that is somewhat isolated from Eau Claire as being worthy of our attention, doing what we can. I believe we're making good use of the money that we have, and we're in need of, continuing on as we have in the past. The other thing I'd like to just mention that has nothing to do with funding here, but as you folks know, I'm on the board for roads as well, road commission. And so for the benefit of the folks behind me, I've been getting calls about the condition of the roads and why are you working on this road and why doesn't that road get some attention because it's worse than the one you're working on and so forth. Well, I can say I've been on the board for all of 10 or 11 months and I have no answer for you, but that won't last forever. If I get reelected, I'll have to answer for it eventually. So I talked with John at the committee meeting about a month ago, and I said, how about coming out to see us? And he said, that's a good idea. And so we're going to have, this is for the benefit of the folks here because I expect you know this already, we're going to have 3 locations within the county where we will be talking, we being John and whoever else, maybe heading somebody, about the roads and why we select the roads that we do and why we do the kind of work that we do on the roads. And because it's important that we hear from the folks and they recognize that, and I'm firmly convinced we're doing a really good job, not because I'm on the board, but I can just see we've got a good man heading this up and things are coming together. The folks need to be giving us some input about what it is that they want us to be doing because it's for them, not for those of us doing it. And they also need to realize that we're spending our money wisely and our administrator and the other folks are doing something that's working because sometimes they don't get the full picture. So at any rate, just a pitch for the Highway Commission that we'll have these meetings, and please come to the meetings, folks, and express your interest in whatever it is that applies to roads.
Will you also let those of us on the board know when those meetings will be?
Oh,
Because I
absolutely.
think they'd be
In fact,
very
we're
valuable.
thinking that we would send it to everybody on the county board, certainly the group,
That would be good.
that we would contact all of the township people, all of the municipal people, the village here, and we would put it in the media system as best we could so that it would get out. Maybe Judy Clark, maybe WKOW, the Leader Telegram, whatever. There's been an awful lot of talk about roads, and this fits in with that interest. And it can say, well, locally, we're trying hard to do something worthwhile. In fact, there's more than just roads that we'll probably talk about. One thing that we looked at last week was the budget for the year. And interesting enough, we take every piece of equipment, we say this is what it costs us to carry the piece of equipment, to maintain it, to operate it, and this is the amount of work we got out of it, the number of hours we put in, or the number of road miles. We divide that into it, and we say this is the benefit. Well, if we only worked it 10 hours for the year, that's a mighty expensive piece of equipment. We probably ought to get rid of it and rent it out from somebody. On the other hand, we're renting out a whole bunch, and we're better off to buy it. We see that as well. And so we've got a mechanism now, financially, to look at making the best use of our equipment so that we benefit the budget overall. And that wasn't, as I understand it, what we had in place several years ago before Catherine joined us. That sort of thing. Plus replacing equipment. If you see the red trucks around, you know that we've replaced some of the big haulers, quad axle trucks. We replaced some of the smaller trucks, and that pays off big time. $20,000 maintenance on some of these trucks was the usual thing a year. $20,000 a year just to maintain it. So it made sense to replace them. So we've got some things going, and we want to let the people know about that as part of informing them. Okay.
Sorry, Carl.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware that John Johnson has started this leasing program that is going to make a huge difference in terms of the
Yes.
annual maintenance and purchase costs.
Yes.
The other comment I have is that I hope in the discussion you could talk a little bit about the state transportation funding and budget and how that fits into what we do.
In this meeting.
Well, yeah.
The ones
yeah.
you're talking
The ones
about.
you're
John can talk
I
about it.
personally
Yeah.
couldn't today. Yeah, okay, we'll do that, so that we look at the whole state, local situation,
How it all comes together.
Right, or not.
Or not.
or not.
Or not.
Mostly not.
Unfortunately not.
Any other questions for Carl?
No.
Okay, thanks, Carl.
Okay, thank you.
I see by the agenda that there was, I skipped an item, and that was the discussion of what we do with this. What we as a committee do. We started basically in January and February looking at the 2018 budget by looking at going to the various departments, starting to see what they're getting, the department directors looking at their programs, what they're seeing in the future, what they see coming, what they see going, all of those issues, so that people are starting to be aware of it. And sometime around May, we send out the budget guidelines as to what we expect to be able to fund as far as total dollars for a budget. For, if you may or may not be familiar, but that we our levies are frozen based on the amount of at 0% increase each year, but we can add on any building addition, any assessed valuation that goes above the previous year. We are allowed to add that type of revenue. So when we start looking at all of this, we are usually looking at a ceiling, and of course you've got items in the budget that go up every year regardless of what it is, whether it's health insurance, whether it's wages, whether it's gas prices or whatever. So we look at this, each department puts together their budget, and they look at it with this, and this year they're looking at it with each other. How can I work with this department to coordinate similar functions? If we're going to be doing surveying for land conservation, how should we tie that with P&D, planning and development? How can we combine that with highway? How can we make things more efficient as we go along? We've got some really good cooperation that Administrator Schaaf has put into place, and we are working with that. So they will come together, and I think it's sometime in August that they come together with their final reports, and they will go into her office, and they will then be beaten to a pulp as they have to justify their dollars. And there's a slight change in the approach this year, but we have to look at what their differences were from last year, what they need to spend more for, how they propose to do it for less. We don't allow our departments to, if you don't spend it, you lose it type thing. You need to justify what you spend, you need to justify what you get back, and if you can give some back, it's all the better. And that's the goal of what we're doing. So we will proceed with that and start evaluating, and then I believe it's the first week of October, the 5 of us will get into a room 5 straight days or 6 straight days until we can't stand each other, and we will go through each budget with each department and bring in complementary departments to go with us, and we will go through that and then make our judgment as to what we think as a county board we can support, what happens there. So that will be the process, and then in November the county board will spend a couple of days going through the budget and making its final determination for approval roughly the first week of November. So I guess second week, because election's the first week, so roughly the second week of November. So that is the process. There's opportunities, as we said, on the website to take the survey. Be sure and take the survey. If you need help, she can help you set up at the senior centers. We have another one of these sessions in a couple of weeks at the, in fact, 2
Ellie
weeks.
Phillips, yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks down at the city library, and we will be doing the same thing with people in another area. So you have plenty of opportunity. You can call any of us. You can call. You can even get Mr. Anton there. He's or call any of us, and we'd be glad to talk to you about what the process is.
I just wanted to mention on the second page of my newsletter is the address and the link to the thingamabob.
Yep, all the county
survey.
supervisors
I'm
are
tired
there.
too.
Gary Gibson, Carl Anton, Katie Forsyth are the three out there in the rural areas.
Yeah, so maybe it's the third page that tells, or it says easy as 1, 2, 3.
It's in there.
Okay.
So that's kind of, if you know, that's what we're doing, and what we do here tonight is we listen to what is going on, what people want, and start trying to get priorities as we work with them. So, any questions about our process?
Mr. Chairman, I would be remiss if I didn't ask the folks who support Lake Eau Claire come here just to raise their hands so they could be.
All right. Thank you, thank you. I know it's been a very, very busy group, and I took the tour, the boat tour that we had. That was very interesting. I haven't seen Lake Eau Claire from the water level before, so it was very nice.
Jim, one of the things I'd like to add is for those of you that have access, like here at the library, online, all of the county board supervisors, we have email that you can, send us a note. And it doesn't have to be long or formal or anything, but if there's an issue, maybe it's veteran services, maybe it's something to do with youth or programming, we need to know what you find to be a priority, because when we're kind of cutting and dicing the budget, it will be your comments that will be some of our determining factors, what we support. So it's really important that you let us know what you value. So we hope you will let us know and tell your friends.
Mike's. And also, please take the opportunity to take the survey. That's, because your input on that is very welcome and needful as well.
And just to let you know that the 9/11 system has been the #1 category for as long as I've been on this committee. So, but we do look at it, and the survey is a little different this year than it has been the last year, and we like to see that, of what people think. It gives us an idea of what you think is happening within the county. It may not be always accurate, but it gives us an idea of what you're thinking, and it gives us an opportunity then to either address it in some manner, to clarify a situation, to let it know what's really happening. So, is there anyone else who would like to speak? This was all of that had submitted. Comment sheets. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? We've still got a couple of hours yet. If we we have no deadline. Is there anyone else? Well, I will adjourn this portion of the meeting, and thank you for all coming. Be sure and contact any of us if you'd like. Most of us carry business cards. If you'd like us to dish them out, we can get them. So thank you for coming. Do we have any further business that we can adjust? Okay, so no further business. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
This program was brought to you by a cooperation between Newsworks and Eau Claire County. Newsworks is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, please contact us via phone at 715-839-5067 or online at valleymediaworks.org.